everyone. Thank you for joining me today. This is episode 6 at Ubuntu Courtyard. My name is Fortune Mawone, Fortune Mawan. Some of you prefer to call me that. I am your host. So yesterday we did tackle a very heavy topic about Africa and artificial intelligence. And it did take a little bit of reading, a bit of, just trying to be as professional as possible because it's a bit of a heavy topic, but I did try my best. So today I just thought, let me talk health and beauty. Episode 6 at Ubuntu Courtyard, we talk about different topics. We don't just focus on one area because that's not who we are. We are blessed in so many areas. We do so many things. We go to work, we study, we watch movies, we listen to music, we cook, we travel, we talk to our friends. So there's always something to talk about. So today's topic is on health and beauty, but I will be focusing on one product and what I've learned, what I've discovered, and I hope this will also help you in your own personal journeys. But first of all, since we're touching on health today, I think it's a good thing to put a disclaimer out there that I'm not a health professional. I haven't been trained in medicine or anything like that. So if you have any health concerns, the best thing to do is to have a word with your doctor or medical practitioner. So I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of research, I do a lot of experimentation. That's me by nature, and I love talking about certain things. A few days ago, one of my friends paid me a visit with her daughter, and we just started talking about one thing. They go to my house on a Saturday, and I was actually having a facial in my morning gown, and my friend just decided to pay me a visit without even warning me. So I opened the door, surprised to find her at the door. The daughter later joined us, and we sat down. We talked for a good 3 hours with my whitish kind of face, and I ended up explaining what it is that I was doing. And my friend was joking, telling her daughter that that's auntie for you. She always has remedies, since she was saying, you know what, you are in the wrong profession. You probably should have been a nurse or something. And funny enough, even when I used to take my children to the doctors or to the hospital, one question that the doctors would ask me was that, are you a nurse by any chance? And I'd say no. But I later realized that it's because usually by the time I turned up, be it at the surgery or the hospital, I would have done a bit of digging. So I just love talking all sorts of remedies and things like that. So perhaps this should be my main topic, or one of the areas that I focus on at Ubuntu Courtyard. I don't know, but when it comes to health and beauty, I love it. I love talking about these things, even though we do touch on serious topics here and there. So today we're going to be talking about Celtic Salt. It's going to touch on health. It's going to be relevant to your health or emotional well-being, and it's also going to probably encourage you as far as your beauty concerns are. Some of them. Not all of them, but so we're talking about Celtic Salt. And how did the story come about? Last year in September, I was sitting down and I'd been going through a lot, emotions up and down, a lot of issues. There's so much uncertainty going on, so many things I needed to do, so much paperwork I needed to fill in. The previous few months, they hadn't been easy. I've gone through grieving. Last year wasn't easy, and I think I reached my peak in terms of weight gain. So what I was going through in September wasn't entirely new, because I'd had a few symptoms prior to that. And I remember talking to one of my friends, not one, probably 2 or 3 friends, actually, female friends. And we did share, what was going on. And I think everybody suggested that, it could be perimenopause symptoms and things like that. And it helped to know that I wasn't probably the only one, although the feelings or the symptoms, whatever it is I was going through, it did feel so magnified. And by God's grace, I've always been healthy. I'm not on medication for anything. But last year was horrible. I did put on weight. And then growing up, I was always known for being tiny, for being small. And I had my children. I did manage to lose the weight that I gained during pregnancy. I never had issues, as far as weight is concerned. But last year, probably it all started during lockdown. But last year, I think I'd reached my peak. Everything was just horrible. So come September, I'm preparing to sit down, do some work. And then I felt this wave of emotions building up inside of me. I knew it wasn't right. And I just knew that the anxiety that I'd been feeling earlier was coming back again with a vengeance. And the scary thing was that I actually felt the wave building up. Because usually sometimes when you're anxious, you don't even know how it started. You just know that you're feeling anxious. You have all sorts of symptoms, maybe palpitations here and there. Maybe you feel something in your tummy, tightening of your tummy. Some people, they develop, sweaty palms. I think if you're white, I've been told that some people develop red skin. It varies from person to person, anxiety. But I think if you're listening, you already know what anxiety feels like. But in that moment, I felt that wave of emotions building up. And I tried a few other things, such as, taking iron pills at the recommendation of a friend, with vitamin C and that kind of thing. But it didn't seem to help. So I knew that there was something going on, something else going on. I was taking one or two other things that I've always done, but this felt different, and I knew that I had to address it. So how did I address it? I'm so grateful I did, and this is the reason why I'm talking to you guys today with this information, because I promised that I would encourage someone with whatever it is that I'd learned if the issue was resolved, and this I said in prayer. So this is the day, 7 months later. Is it 7 months later? Yes, something like that. Those feelings have disappeared. I don't feel anxious. I feel balanced. I'm back to my old self. Of course, the weight gain is still there. It's slow, the shedding process. I know I still need to be more active and do one or two other things, to lose the excess weight. But when I look at myself in the mirror, I can actually see that the weight gain is actually, not as bad as it was last year. But the general well-being, that feeling of just being balanced, I've got it back. I am energetic. I feel so much energy. I feel happier. Usually that sort of person who always looks on the positive side of things. And this doesn't mean that I don't have issues or worries or concerns. I still have so many things that I'd love to see resolved. But generally, I'm in a good place. I still go through my ups and downs. I still feel sad sometimes. I still don't know what the future holds for me. But I can say with confidence, 100%, I'm not where I was last September. So I prayed. So I just asked the Lord to show me what it is that was wrong with me, what it is that I had to do. Should I go see the doctor? Should I do something? Is there something that I had to change that I was doing wrong? And I just waited for an answer. And within a day or two, I'd come across so much information such that I ended up placing an order for Celtic Salt. That was in September. So I think the salt was delivered on the 6th or 7th. I started learning some benefits about Celtic Salt. And on the same day, on the 5th of September, I've been checking my phone. I've been looking because sometimes I save screenshots, and sometimes I write a lot of notes. So it's becoming much easier now to find things on your phone. So on the 5th of September, this is what I read, and I took a screenshot. It says, I think it's from a website called Calm Clinic. It says the Bible does not state what causes anxiety because God considers anxiety to be a crisis of faith. So anxiety, fear, they go hand in hand basically. And some people go as far as saying that fear is the opposite of faith. So let's proceed with what the statement says. The belief here is that anxiety shows that the person has not yet been able to put full trust in God, because fear itself is something that is meant to be relinquished, as every person is meant to be part of God's plan. And that's a very, very important statement to understand, because God tells us over and over again in the Bible to not worry. There's a Bible verse which talks about, look at the birds in the sky, do they worry about what they will eat and that kind of thing. Even King Solomon had, the best attire, something like that. But it's nothing compared to the birds of the sky. So why should you worry? What has worry done to you? In terms that has it added an extra day of your life? Something along those lines. And anxiety doesn't add anything. We still find ourselves feeling anxious. And in September last year, I was a perfect candidate for all things anxiety. And I was thinking, how am I going to get myself out of this? And on that day, I also did take this screenshot, same day, because I later went on a fact-finding mission like I always do. So I found this Bible verse again. And mind you, I knew that there's so many professional people who can help you with anxiety. I know that there are even medical professionals who can even prescribe something to help with your anxiety. But I didn't want to do that. Number one, I don't have the thousands of pounds to consult anybody, as far as this issue is concerned. And number two, I'm not willing to take medication. And I'm thinking there's got to be another solution, and that's where my faith came into the mix. So Proverbs 12 verse 25 says, anxiety in the heart of man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. And I also took another screenshot, which will be the last one I'm mentioning as far as Bible verses are concerned. On the 5th of September, it was Psalms 55 verse 22. Psalm 55 verse 22, and it reads, cast your burdens on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. He shall never permit the righteous to be moved. So this is me on the 5th. I've had this feeling, and now I'm trying to strengthen myself. I'm not trying to find solutions. And the next thing I did, I found something about Celtic Salt. I don't even remember how I ended up researching about Celtic Salt. All I know is that a few years ago, probably about 7-8 years ago, I did learn about Soleil, which is like salty water. And I did try to take some, where you kind of put some water, let's say 2 tablespoons of water in a mason jar, and you close, and overnight or over a few days, the water becomes concentrated naturally, because obviously there's salt in there. But you take like a teaspoon from that jar, add a glass of water every morning, fresh, separate glass of water, and have it in the morning. So I did find about or learn about Sole thanks to some random dude, I can't even remember his name, but he was into sports and fitness. And I remember he was white. I don't even know how I came across his video. That was about 8 years ago. And I did try for maybe a month or two, but then I stopped for whatever reason. You know how it is, sometimes you come across remedies and then you think, you just stop. So I didn't take it seriously. And now the issue of salt is visiting me again. So I placed an order, and then within a day, the salt was delivered. So I started taking a little bit, a few grains of salt in the morning, probably like a pinch. And then, that's what I do in the morning. And it took about a month before I realized that I was actually feeling different in a good way. I was just feeling more balanced in a way, because I started using the salt for cooking sometimes, but I just use it as something to accompany my first water intake in the morning. So I noticed that it took about a month before I could see improvements, and then as time went by, I started noticing a few other changes, a few other improvements, and I'll mention some of these improvements as we go along. But one notable difference, which I never anticipated, was how my nails were really strong. My nails grow long naturally, but they were feeling a bit soft and brittle for the longest time. And they just grow up to a certain length and then they break off. Right now, I know you can't see me, but my nails are very long. So if I wear nail polish, which I will do probably tomorrow, a lot of people would even need to be convinced that they're actually my natural nails. So that's how long my nails grow. They look fake to some people, especially when they are painted. But I don't need nail polish as such for them to be strong. I can still do housework. I still wash the dishes. I still do the cleaning. I still wash my hair, everything. And they're not breaking off. Of course, after a while, they do break off, and it takes about, I don't know how long it takes for them to grow, but they grow quite long, really fast. But of late, I've been noticing that my nails are really strong. And I used to have a chronic problem with my lips, and I love lipstick, wearing lipstick, and I used to have cracked lips. And I noticed after a while that it wasn't an issue anymore. The cracked lips, they disappeared. Now I don't even have to worry or think much about Vaseline, because I usually use Vaseline on my lips for cracked lips, or dry lips. I tried all sorts of remedies as far as cracked lips are concerned. I have bought so many amazing brands out there. I've spent quite a bit of money. Lip balms. I spent 20-something pounds on a lip balm. Not once, twice, or if not 3 times. But the problem still persisted. And then, of course, I'd still use Vaseline, and the problem still persisted. But I can tell you now that ever since I discovered Celtic Salt, that issue is gone. Cracked lips. That's one other thing. My nails. These were extra benefits that I never even thought about. But the most important thing is I just feel so balanced. So, I have another testimony as well. As far as my son is concerned, he's very active. He plays football, competitive football here and there with his friends and things like that. But at some point I did tell him about Celtic Salt, and knowing my children, they can be reluctant, to use certain remedies because they think their mom, You know how it is with children. Sometimes they need convincing. Sometimes they can even do their own research and tell you that, nah, no, it's not for me. But there was a time when I actually encouraged my son to try Celtic Salt. And he did try. He also mentioned that he knew that there was a bit of electrolytes in salt. As somebody who's very sporty, he talked about energy drinks and that kind of thing. And so the first time he actually took the Celtic Salt, he was going to play a football match. And I did ask him how it went a few days later, and then this is what I wrote. I thought I would. I wrote this on the 19th of October. So imagine. So I found out about Celtic Salt around the 5th of September. Probably started using it around the 7th of September. So on the 19th of October 2024, this is what I wrote. I asked my son today if Celtic Salt water had helped him yesterday. We talked about it 2 weeks ago after he'd had a cramping episode. I made him the water yesterday because he asked for it. He was in a rush to go and play football. Just now, I asked if it had been helpful. He said he didn't experience any cramps during the game afterwards and didn't feel muscle soreness post-match too, as in the following day. In other words, he was happy with it. So then I wrote, well, there is a backdrop story to this. And I've written about it before. See screenshots and comments. So I think I knew that I was going to talk about this at some point. So this was probably just a guide for a future day, which is today. But I'll copy and paste the bit where I talked about nails too. That's me doing my thinking and writing, jotting down notes. The rest will be covered in future podcasts. Few days ago, I showed my son the intro and the child. Oh no, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. So I revisited a story about a time when he said he was cramping, he was crying out. And we used to have these episodes. He used to have cramping episodes around 16, 17 years of age. And it had been quite a while since my son had complained about leg cramps. There was a time when they would hit him like waves, a combination of growth spurts, around 16, 17 years of age, and rigorous sports activities. But the recent cramping happened about 2 days ago. Suddenly remembered that I once read that there was a simple solution to the cramps long after his growth spurt episodes, the 16, 17-year-old episodes. And this information I also found about, cramping whilst researching other health issues as well. So that information came to me more or less at the same time. So when he had a cramp, I thought of sharing a link with him and somehow forgot about it, despite he's well known for resisting my remedies. The number of times we fought over what to take during COVID episodes, no matter how his temperature would be, he'd be saying, I'm not taking that. So I did write about a few other things and the things that he's resisted before. But then it hit me at some point that I'd read about Celtic sea salt. So I've been reading about the benefits. I'm just reading my notes. I've been reading about the benefits of Celtic salt, which I went ahead and bought. But I was buying it for other things. That's how I came across the fact that sporty people or those prone to cramps can also take some sea salt with water, since it helps with replacing electrolytes lost through sweat. Son said he already knew that, and that's why he used to add salt to his water before football practice and games. Just ordinary salt. It wasn't Celtic salt because we didn't have any at the time. So I learned about Sole, salty water, about 7 years ago, made some, took it on a regular basis and simply stopped. Why, I have no idea. And somehow the topic was highlighted to me as when I was reading about something else. Still, you need the research skills of a master's student to decipher what's what. the for and against narratives concerning salt, usually salt, table salt versus sea salt, are so well argued that one can easily be left clueless. So, is salt good or bad? We're talking about Celtic salt. For example, people with high blood pressure are restricted from taking much salt, and indeed, your total sodium consumption shouldn't exceed about a teaspoon per day. But others argue that sea salt can lower blood pressure thanks to potassium, magnesium, and other minerals found in Celtic salt. And then others also talk about Celtic sea salt, and they say that it lacks in, it doesn't have iodine. Then other people say actually there is natural iodine and the levels are enough. So iodine is a problem. It can, no iodine in salt has led to issues such as goiter and other. I used to see African women, not all of them, but some of them develop goiter and a few others. And health authorities actually added iodine to salt, usually table salt. So these are the people who will be arguing for ordinary salt, saying that there is usually iodine, which Celtic sea salt doesn't have. And some people will be saying, actually, there is enough iodine. It might be small amounts, but it's enough. So, but others argue that everyday salt that most people consume has been slightly processed and bleached, therefore it's a no-no. Others suggest kosher salt, Himalayan salt, and the like. But then others have measured what's what and argue that the vilified table salt and sea salt contain the same amount of sodium per gram, and that some of the unprocessed salts are not pure and likely to cause problems. You also have to be careful about where your salt is being mined from, and with some spots being contaminated, so they say. But others argue that Celtic salt, for example, comes from pristine environments, and there is enough and natural iodine in there, which makes it easier for the body to absorb. So you see, in October last year, I was trying to understand the issue of salt and Celtic salt, and there's so much information out there. It's mind-boggling. It felt like I was researching for a master's program or something like that, because it's incredible, the amount of information that's out there, but it doesn't always say this is the right thing. Some people will be saying it's wrong, some people will be saying it's bad. So I joke that if I hadn't studied research methods and analysis while studying for my master's degree, I certainly wouldn't even know who to believe. But I've noticed this general trend for and against narrative when it comes to certain remedies. Anyway, I encourage Son to use the Celtic salt in the kitchen next time, and that was the end of our conversations. I know that there are many other drinks that are effective, but simplicity goes a long way. But it also got me thinking. Not too long ago, I was wondering why my nails seem to grow long and longer without succumbing to breakage, despite me doing a lot of housework, which includes dishwashing. So you see, by the 19th of October, I was already seeing benefits. So I did talk about my long nails, and I promised to share my findings in a future podcast, and it took about 7 months. And here we are today. So thank you for listening. Oh my gosh, we're now at 30 minutes. So I think if you didn't know anything about salt, Celtic salt, now you know. And now you know that it helped with my anxiety. It helped with my son's cramps as well. So how much salt do I take? I take just a pinch in the morning. Some people say you can take about 3 or 4 grains on your tongue, under your tongue, and drink your usual amount of water first thing in the morning. That way the salt gets absorbed quickly. That's what other people argue. So I also wanted to talk about electrolytes because I did mention into electrolytes and sports. What are they? They are essential minerals such as magnesium, sodium, calcium, and potassium. Potassium, they are vital to many functions in the body. And usually we lose electrolytes through, sweat. And and they also play a key role in hydrating the body. That's another thing that I did notice when you talk about hydration. Because sometimes we encourage to drink lots of water, aren't we? But sometimes you realize that when you drink water, you just go to the toilet on a regular basis. I've noticed that when I'm taking Celtic Salt on a regular basis, even if when I drink water, I'm not always rushing to the loo. So in other words, water just doesn't go through you. You don't lose the water. Somehow the body manages to hold the water thanks to the mineral. So it helps with the hydration. And I think this explains why my lips are no longer as chapped as they used to be, even though I used to drink lots of water anyway. So yes. Electrolytes, they also, which are found in this Celtic Salt, they also ensure nerve and muscle function, that everything works the way it should, and it also maintains an acid-base balance and fluid balance within the cells. So that's when we're talking about electrolytes and what they do. So Celtic salt is also known as grey salt, in French, and it's often harvested using Celtic methods. The salt is known for its grey color, which owes to the clay, from the sea floods where the Celtic salt is collected from. And it hasn't been processed as, the regular table salt. So it contains a lot of minerals. So I did write a few benefits of Celtic salt here. Mine, the one I have, I've got the pack here with me. It says vital blend of 82 minerals, coarse, light, gray. So if you go wherever you buy your stuff from, you'll be able to find Celtic salt. So mine says vital blend of 82 minerals. And let me read a little bit of what it says on the back. So it invites, the Pure Flourish invites you to immerse yourself in the exquisite world of our premium Celtic salt, a culinary gem that not only elevates the taste of your dishes but also enriches your well-being. Sourced from pristine coastal waters, our salt is a treasure trove of essential minerals, promoting a harmonious balance in your body. Experience the benefits of enhanced electrolyte balance, improved hydration, and a boost in vital nutrients. Elevate your culinary creations while nourishing your body with the pure goodness of Celtic salt. That's another thing. It makes the food taste better. It's amazing when it comes to flavor. Adding salt, Celtic salt, is amazing, and a lot of chefs actually prefer sea salt to regular salt when preparing meals. So Celtic salt is a natural, health-conscious choice that turns every meal into a flavorful and wholesome delight. And they go on to talk about the family business and how they mine their salt and things like that. So here I am. So I'm reading this. I'm holding a pack of my salt. It's called Pure Flourish. But feel free to buy whatever brand, because I think the first time I bought it wasn't this brand. It was something else. And I think I bought this brand because it offered a smaller bag compared to the one I bought previously. So if you go, and I don't know if you're listening to this and you are in Africa, I'm not sure if Celtic salt is widely available. So you might have to speak from someone at the pharmacy, but you might, in Africa, certain things can be expensive, even though they shouldn't be that expensive. If you don't have Celtic salt and if you're thinking about trying it out, I'd say use sea salt, regular salt in general, regular sea salt. I remember encouraging my mom to get regular sea salt, and she seems to like it. I don't know whether she takes it on a regular basis, but she promised me that she was. Anyway, so some of the benefits we've talked about: the mineral content, Vital Blend, 82 minerals, and we've done that. We've talked about how they use natural methods. It means it retains these minerals, it improves flavor, and we've talked about electrolytes, why they're crucial to for hydration, especially in situations involving intense physical activity, for example, sports people, and in hot climates. I've got a friend from Japan, and I remember 2 years ago we were at a shopping center, and we're looking at a few products, Japanese products, and we go to the water. I actually bought the water, and he said it was a blend of salt and sugar, something along those lines. So you remember, when someone has, let's say, when they lose, electrolytes thanks to probably having a tummy bug, let's say they have diarrhea or they've thrown up too much, sometimes doctors and nurses can prescribe salt and sugar solution, something along this, or something close to that. In a hospital setting, it will be different. But he said that's what a lot of people in countries such as Malaysia and Japan, they take that water on a regular basis containing electrolytes, because it helps with the hydration side of things. And I think this is very important for people in hot climates. And I think as many Africans are not told to take salty water in any way, shape or form, it's something that people usually do when they're probably extremely unwell. But I'm sure you can probably take that salt water on a regular basis, especially for people who drink a lot, for example, with drink problems and stuff like that. And I remember encouraging family members, to give our father, salty water, because, he drinks quite a lot, and it helps as well. So if you're in Africa, or if you're in a hot climate, or if you're, summer, just consider taking Celtic salt water on a regular basis, or sea salt. Just a tiny bit at a time is enough, or you might have to do further research to see the measurements. I'm not doing a video, so probably I would have shown you the amount, but I'd say something like 10 grams at a time in the morning. That's enough, to a cup of water, something along those lines. That should be enough. Of course, some people say, just take three grains or 4 under your tongue and drink. So that's what other people say and do. So you might want to try that as well, because I think that information came from a renowned health expert as well. So you could give that a try and see what happens. So that's Celtic salt for you. So in Africa, people they're always sweating, through maybe sports or even farming. A lot of people spend time, farming, and they don't realize that they're losing electrolytes in the process. Or even when you're walking on a hot summer day, you're walking from one place to another, a little bit of salt, I'm sure, can go and help you a long way as far as hydration is concerned. And it also helps maintain your pH levels. It also improves your nerve function. And my friend has also said it is, ever since she bought Celtic salt, she uses it for her cooking. It's been amazing. So major improvements that I've seen, notable improvements, other than just feeling balance, and anxiety seems to be a thing of the past by God's grace. I've developed coping mechanisms, and faith still plays a part. I'm trying to be active on a regular basis. And one thing I wanted to say is, when you're feeling anxious, for example, try to make sure that you address whatever issue you're dealing with head on. so that things don't linger, because the more you sit on something that you know you should be doing, the more you become anxious. One more Bible verse, in Philippians 4 verse 6 to 7, it says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be known to God, and the peace of God which surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ." So anxiety is not a good thing, and yet it's something that a lot of people are actually living with. So faith plays an important part. And if God says, do not be anxious, talk to me about what's worrying you, and we still don't talk, we think we can shoulder everything and worry instead, we're not doing ourselves any favors. There will be no trophies to be won at the end of it all, to say, oh, you worried a lot and you did amazingly well in that area. Nobody's going to be rewarded for being anxious, because it's not a godly thing to do. So I hope, even though you might not be a faith kind of person, for those who believe, for the Christians, I think it might be a good idea to just pray, especially if you're feeling anxious here and there, or maybe on a regular basis, or even if you're depressed. Talk to God, ask Him, ask for wisdom, ask for help, ask for guidance, and you might actually end up being led to the right person. Or you might actually end up, finding out information about what it is that you need to do. And knowing about something is not enough. You actually have to do it, and like they say, faith without action is dead. So you actually have to do something about your anxiety. For example, if you're worrying about bills, for example, especially here in the UK, a lot of people have been struggling as far as the cost of living crisis is concerned. It's been ongoing for a long time, and a lot of people aren't talking about these things. Some people, they still show up on social media presenting that everything is fine, that image, whereas the majority of people are actually struggling. And I am that mother who's been encouraging, her children to actually talk about their worries and concerns, because sometimes you can actually feel as if you are the only person who is struggling when the opposite is true. So pick up the phone. If you have bills, talk to the people probably responsible for the bills. See if you can come up with a payment plan, that sort of thing. Ask for help. Not everyone is going to be able to help you, but you'll be surprised, what picking up the phone and talking to some people can actually help. And a story of faith. I remember last year, I was also feeling anxious because I needed, I think it was about £200 that I needed to pay something, to pay for something, and I didn't have the money at the time, and I was really worried and concerned, and I prayed, and I'm lucky to have had a few good friends who've helped me, financially, and I was kind of, worried about asking for money again, and in that moment, I just prayed and I asked for help. I didn't know how I was going to get the £200 from, who, from, when. And I just felt the urge to call one of my friends, and I said, no, I can't call her because she's helped me before. There's another friend who's also helped me before, and I'm thinking, no, I can't do that. I can't. And whilst I was still saying no, because I'm trying to justify why I can't call her, she called. She actually called, and I'll never forget it. And I'm thinking, what? But still, I didn't mention it because I was saying to myself, there's no way, I can't. And then, so we talked about other things. Did I talk about it? No. Then later on, I plugged up the courage to tell her that, what, I needed £200, despite the fact that she's helped me before, that kind of thing. And she said, you know what? For some strange reason, I actually have £200 extra this month. Had you asked me last month, I don't think I would have been able to say yes. But for some strange reason, I have £200, so yes, no problem. See what faith does? So I'm sharing these stories to encourage, to try God when everything else has failed, because as people, we have limitations, especially now in this day and age when things are so difficult. You try so hard, you work hard, you try to budget the money. It's still not enough, and you're just being gaslit. being made to feel as if you're a total failure when everything is actually working against you. So the one person who really trusts, who we need to trust and who we need to have a relationship, I believe it's God. There's nothing that He can't do. And I'm speaking right now knowing that I have a few requests. Even when I woke up in the morning, I was praying for so many things concerning myself, concerning my children. And I hope that one day I'll also be coming back to you and say, you know what? I did try it again, and this is what happened. But I've got so many testimonies as far as faith is concerned. So this is why, no matter how much I read, no matter how much I've learned, I've got a master's degree, I still trust in the Lord. I don't I do things according to my own knowledge. Faith is a paramount thing that we need in everything concerning us. Remember the Bible verse, Philippians 4, verse 6 to 7. It says, in everything by prayer and supplication, present your requests, to God. And He who surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. So as we talk about these topics here, we'll touch on faith. We might talk about beauty, we might talk about this and that, we might talk about confidence and still touch on faith. This is how I roll. I am I am here today, because of faith. So we've talked about, anxiety. If you do something about it, don't just sit on things. If you have homework to do, if you have assignments to do, let's say you're going to college, you're going to uni, you're going to school, do the assignments, put in the work, switch off your phone and do the work, because procrastination, it keeps you even more, it robs you of joy. It keeps you feeling all sorts of feelings which aren't good. And you'll be grounded. You can't move. You can't do anything because deep down there's something that you should be doing. And also try to eat well. Most of the time, sleep well. Get enough sleep. You'll be surprised how many people think that, getting 5 hours is enough, and they actually brag about it. No, you're not doing your bodies any favors. And I've noticed that since I live in the UK, sometimes we have long winter periods. Your body adjusts differently. Sometimes you need more time to sleep because the days are short. And I think in the olden days, people would hibernate. They barely went out. But we have to go to work. We have to worry about bills. We have to do this. Children still need to go to school. So we always press for time, but whatever it is, try to make sure that you're also getting enough sleep, at least 7 hours, 8 hours a night, if it's at all possible. A bit of activity helps, cleaning your room, your house. Whenever you're feeling anxious, be active, do something. I'm speaking from experience as well. But rest if you must, because sometimes if you haven't been resting well, you're also likely to feel anxious, and your thought processes and the way you think and the way you feel the world and see the world, everything goes bad. I sometimes, I've had those moments where even when I'm talking to my friend, I feel like, everything has come to an end because of the way that I will be feeling in that moment. Even when I'm talking to my children, sometimes one thing happens and they forget about all the other good things that have happened to them. So we all prone to that. We all do that. So sometimes all you need to do is find some time to rest. It might be a few days until you start feeling okay again. If you've gone through a stressful period, if you've been stretched for a very long time, make sure that you do find time to rest. Naps are a good thing. Taking an afternoon nap, especially if the weather is hot. So many people think that taking a nap is a bad thing, but it's actually good for you. In Spain, for example, taking a siesta or a nap, 20-minute, if it's possible, during the day, it can help you. I work 9 to 5 most of the time, and I rarely take naps. But sometimes when I'm really feeling tired, especially over the weekends, I will not hesitate to take a long nap, and I'll switch off everything and I just go let my body dictate when to wake up. And I'll be surprised by how amazing I feel when I wake up, because I did look after myself and cook more. Sometimes it's difficult to cook. Yesterday we had dinner quite late, around 11:15. that late, because by the time I finished the podcast, I had to wash the dishes, I had to cook. My daughter had already left, so there was no one else to cook except me. My son has been busy with other things, and I felt, okay, should I just make a sandwich, maybe have cereal? But I really felt that, you know what, if I do make an effort to cook, I think I'll actually end up feeling better for it. And for real, I really felt so much better for it, and I slept wonderfully well. So always take time. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, as long as it's nice and it's filling, it's wholesome, it's clean. Sometimes that's all you need, and like I said, try to find the root cause of your anxiety and try to address it, in any way that you can. Seek professional help if you can, or if you must. There's no harm. And I think a lot of African people think that, finding help or seeking counseling is for the weak, and this is how a lot of us are being damaged in the process, perhaps passing on a lot of things to our children because we didn't think that it was necessary. So speak to someone else, a professional, in a professional capacity if you can. And so as I come to the conclusion, I am thankful that the Celtic Salt led me to an amazing journey. I have lots of energy, I just feel good, I'm calm, I'm settled emotionally. Weight loss, it's a journey that I need to that I'm embarking on. I'm trying to do what I need to do. I'd noticed that my hair wasn't growing as much as it used to. I don't know if I can attribute it to the salt, but I've been doing other things as well. So in the next episode, I hope to cover on a few other things as well that have helped me as far as my hair is concerned. But I was losing hair somewhere, like my edges on the left side. My hair is about 20 inches long, but it was now shorter. There was something, I could tell that things were not right, but I can say with 100% confidence things have changed, and I can actually see that my hair is slowly growing again, even though I did trim my hair significantly in January this year. My skin is glowing. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, I still have a dark spot here and there, on my face, but I can tell that my skin, I don't wear foundation most of the time. My nails, again, I've already mentioned about my nails. They're really long. I don't need nail polish to strengthen them. And I did there was a mouth ulcer at some point, and I used the Celtic Salt to swish inside my mouth for about 3 minutes after brushing, and the problem just disappeared within a very short period of time. So I know Celtic salt is actually good for your body. It also helps with many other infections like bacterial infections, but we'll talk about it. But like we've already mentioned, too much salt is a bad thing. It can lead to high blood pressure, it can lead to strokes, heart disease, and it's so easy to consume so much salt. Even there's a bit of salt in Coke and many other drinks, cooked meats and all sorts of snacks, they do add salt, so we really need to be careful. So how much salt do you need per day? You need at least a teaspoon of salt per day, so that includes everything that you're going to eat. So it's difficult to maintain if you eat convenience food, if you're always snacking and that kind of thing, but the NHS guidelines, they recommend at least 6 grams of salt or sodium. So so that's about a teaspoon. So even when you take those grains of salt, just be aware that you have to aim for about 1 teaspoon of salt per day. And like I said, I take a pinch and I add it to my water in the morning. But some people dissolve 3 or 4 grains of salt under their tongue, and then they drink their regular water, however much water you feel comfortable with. You don't have to force yourself. So this is me. How many minutes did we do? 55 minutes, is it? Oh my gosh, but yeah, that's a good thing, because I was aiming for about, no, it's not actually. I was aiming for about 30 minutes, but because we unpack quite a lot of stuff in our podcast, I think it's better, to just do whatever we need to do, talk about it, and and encourage each other. I hope you've learned something. I hope I've inspired you to go do a bit of research as far as Celtic sea salt is concerned. You might want to try it for yourself. You might want to try it for your meals, but give yourself time. Observe. If you've used Celtic salt and you know a thing or two that might encourage other people, please share your observations, your knowledge, your experiences, and I'm sure someone will be able to help. To benefit. Someone will benefit because people do read comments. If you know something about electrolytes, especially when it comes to sporting and things like that, if you know a thing or two, please add in the comments as well, so that others can learn. And thank you once again for taking the time to listen to this podcast. I hope to see you in the next one. So I will try to do episode 7, the Shona version of today's topic, and then we'll move on to a different topic. So the next podcast will be in Shona, but it's today's topic, and then we reconnect sometime next week as we touch on another topic. So I talked about Celtic salt and the benefits, the well-being benefits, as well as the beauty side of things. I will also touch on one other supplement that I also attribute to me feeling really balanced, and I am really grateful. So I can't wait to share the other benefits of one other supplement that I never used to take last year, and I started taking it this year. And there's also one other product which we'll talk about in the next episode. So please subscribe, and don't forget to share. Don't forget to press the like button if you like this podcast, if you did find it useful. And don't forget to mention it to other people who might learn a thing or two, especially women, probably going through all sorts of symptoms as a result of perimenopause and things like that. But I'm sure this will apply to quite a lot of people. Salt isn't bad for you. It's a type of salt that you take and the amount of salt that you take. So be well, and thank you once again for joining me today. Until I meet you in the next episode, take care. Bye.